you're not a serious student of Rambam, you may not appreciate how enormous this is, but if you think about it, and I can show you how unbelievable this is, to appreciate the greatness of the Rambam to unbelievable extent. Let me start by telling you that there's a Mishnah in Avos, where the Mishnah in Avos says that, thank you, the Mishnah in Avos says that there was 10 generations, that's good, from Noah to Avram. That's one Mishnah. Then there's another Mishnah. The other Mishnah says that there was 10 nisyonos, 10 tests that Avram Avinu had. So Reb Chaim Volozhiner and Tais Yontif makes the diak. When it talks about the 10 generations from Avram to Noach, it doesn't call him Avram Avinu in the Mishnah. Because then it's just giving you 10 generations. It's not telling us anything about Avram Avinu as a father to Klal Yisrael. Thank you. But when it says 10 tests that Avram Avinu had, since there Avram functions as our father, that he gave us the midah of Mesiras Nefesh and Orkazim and all the other things that he did, so there the Mishnah calls him Avinu. So I maintain, I'm going to show you from 100 proofs, that every single title in the Rambam, there's a reason. Also, when he says Avram without Avinu, there's a reason. When he says Yitzchak without Avinu, there's a reason. When he says Yitzchak with Avinu, there's a reason. And not only is every single name of every Av and every person in the Rambam, in other words, if he says David and says David HaMelech, there's a reason. If he says David without HaMelech, there's a reason. If he says Moshe without Rabbeinu, there's a reason. If he says Moshe Rabbeinu, there's a reason. If he says Moshe Rabbeinu Rabbam shall call Hanavim, which he only says in 4 places, there's a reason. Every single title that any person is given in the whole Rambam is with an exact reason. Even further, there are 20 different names that the Rambam talks about Hashem. From Adon to Kael, to Elokim, to Ribbon Olamim, to Borei. The list goes on and on. And every single time the description of Hashem, he uses a word that he explains in the Moreh Nevuchim what that word means, and he picks that word to explain the Rabbeinu Shalom, which is an amazing thing, that he was so medagdek that there isn't a time, if he says Borei instead of Yotzer, there's a reason. If he says Adon, there's a reason. If he says Adon Ha'olam, there's a reason. If he says Ribbon Olamim, there's a reason. If he says Hakel HaNichbad V'Hanoira in one place, and another place he'll say Hakel HaNichbad V'Hagadol, there's a reason. Always back to Psukim, always back to Gemaras, always a reason that there isn't an extra word in the Holy Rambam. And I'm going to show you one parak where, and I'll even show you how I came up with this. It's an unbelievable thing. And I've showed this to Gedolei Torah over the last year and a half since I came up with this. And everybody says I'm onto something very big. In one parak in Hilchos Avodah Zarah, where the Rambam traces the history of how Avodah Zarah starts. He talks about Avram 5 different times in the parak. Sometimes with Avinu, sometimes without Avinu. And there's a reason for each one. to just imagine how careful the Rambam was in his writings. For instance, he talks about Ben Arbaim Shana, when Avram Avinu was 40 years old. I called him Avram Avinu, Rambam doesn't yet. Ben Arbaim Shana, Hikir Avram es Boro. That's when he recognized Hashem. Avram, without Avram Avinu, because just for recognizing Hashem, until he did something about it, he doesn't become our father yet. Right? But then later on, when the Rambam says that, he says, Umiyavas Hashem Osanu, and Hashem loves us, this is a pasuk in the end of this week's parsha. Mishamras Hashvua Lavram Avinu. Why did he keep the Shvua to take us out of Mitzrayim? Because Avram earned the title of Avinu. There he calls him Avinu. So if he calls him Avinu, there's a reason when he calls him Avinu. If he doesn't call him Avinu, there's a reason. The first place in the parak when the Rambam says that the world was full of Avodah Zarah, Al derech zeh ha'olam mizgalgal v'hoilach, ad shenolad amudai shel olam, until the pillar of the world was born. Once he's talking about him being the pillar, shehu Avram Avinu. It's Avram Avinu. Today, thanks to my telephone, I can find out, because I have the Rambam on the phone, right? I can find out how many times he used the word for every person. So I checked Yitzchak. There's one Yitzchak Avinu in the whole Rambam. Only one. In Hilchas Beis HaBchira, the Rambam writes that the Makom of the Mizbeach, the place where the Mizbeach is, Perek Beis Halacha Aleph, Shom Mekaymai Miyuchid, the place of Mizbeach was a special place. Shom Ne'ekad, in that place, there was the Akedah of who? Yitzchak Avinu, because Yitzchak, giving up his life, made him a father. Take a look in Hilchas Matnes Aniyim, Perek Yud, Halacha Aleph, and the Rambam says it's only by one mitzvah. Right? You know, somebody can say, if somebody can speak one week and say this is the most important thing, this is the most important thing. If the Rambam writes this is the most important mitzvah, he doesn't say it in any other place. Chayavin anu, every Jew is chayiv. He's zoher b'mitzvah staka. Chayavin anu zoher yoser mikol mitzvah saseh. So what mitzvah should you be zoher in? And he doesn't say this by any other mitzvah. It's not like some guy gives mussar this week, says this is the most important thing, next week says that's the most important thing. He says it only in one place. Chayavin anu zoher b'mitzvah staka. Yoser mikol mitzvah saseh. Shehu siman, because it's a siman, letzadik, to the tzidkis of Zera, Avram, Avinu. Because Avram is an Av to us in Chesed. So therefore the Rambam doesn't just call him Avram, he calls him Avinu. How did I discover this thing? It's fascinating. The Rambam writes in Hilchas Tefillah that the Tefillos were made kineged the Korbanos. Shachar is kineged Korban Shel Shachar, Ma'ariv kineged the Talmud Shel Ben Arbaim, and the Evarim P'tarim, but the Gemara says in Brachas. So, the Mishnah has a problem. The Gemara says that the reason why we daven Shachar Mincha Ma'ariv, one teretz is not because of Korbanos, it's because the Avos are masakin it. And the Gemara says the Avos, we hold of both. The Avos are masakin it, but they're Masayimach on Korbanos. The Rambam only brings Korbanos. Like as Mishnah says, the Rambam thought that the Gemara's teretz, that Avos Tiknum was a doichik, and the first teretz of the Gemara is better, and therefore the Rambam only brings in Hilchas Tefillah that it's Keneged Korbanos. So it bothered me that I know that there's a Rambam in Hilchas Malachim and Perek Tes, where the Rambam says, Avram daven Shacharis, Yitzchak daven Mincha, Yaakov daven Ma'ariv. So he does bring it to Avos daven. But he only says they davened. He doesn't say they're Masakein. And he doesn't say Avram Avinu. He just says Avram daven Shacharis. So that proves that the Mishnah understood that just because he believes that they daven Shacharis means Chamayr, the Chazal say they davened. But it wasn't a takana. It was just a fact. That's how the Rambam understood it. And that's why he doesn't bring Avos Tiknum. He doesn't say Avram Hiskin Shacharis. So, and here I came up with an unbelievable thing. In Hilchis Mila, every place in Hilchis Mila, whenever he talks about Mila, he talks about Mila is the mitzvah of Avram Avinu, which makes perfect sense. Because, of course, he's our father when it comes to the mitzvah of bris. Lachnisa b'brisa Avram Avinu, right? In Hilchis Malachim, the Rambam writes in Hilchis Malachim that there is something called Hamila Nitztava Ba Avram V'Zara Bovad. Mila was only for Avram and his Zara. As it happens, the Rambam's shita is machlokes between Rashi and the Rambam. We know that Avram got married after Sarah passed away to a lady named Keturah. And he had 6 children. Rashi says those 6 children, the Gemara says, the B'nai Keturah Chai Mila. Rashi says those 6 children are the only ones that had Mila. None of the generations of B'nai Keturah were Chai Mila. That's Rashi's sheet in Sanhedrin and Tes. The Rambam in Hilchos Malachim says, B'nai Keturah are Chayiv in Mila all the generations. So the Mishnah Melech says, one second, there's Goyim Chayiv in Mila for all generations. Isn't Mila special for Jews? So how could it be that B'nai Keturah also Chayiv in Mila? So the Rambam says, so Mishnah Melech shows that we have a different Mila than the B'nai Keturah. Our Mila is with Priya, B'nai Keturah's Mila is without Priya. They do have 1/13 of the bris that we have. Because the Gemara says there's 13 brisos that Mila has, and B'nai Keturah have 1/13 of the bris. But the Gedola Mila, with Mila special, is because they have all 13. So in Hilchis Malachim, when he talks about Hamila Stav Avram Bezaro, he says, okay, Esav is out, Yishmael is out, but B'nai Keturah has Mila. Since the Mila of B'nai Keturah is not the identical Mila that we have, they have a Mila, they're special, these Goyim, but it's not the full-fledged Mila we have. There the Rambam says Avram Nitztava B'Mila Lazaro Bovad, but he doesn't say Avram Avinu, because he can't say Avinu if it's also a bris that Goyim have. If Goyim have that bris is not the same bris as our bris. So therefore in Hilchos Mila, when he discusses Avram Avinu, it's always Avinu. In Hilchos Malachim, when he talks about the B'nai Keturah having a bris, he'll say Avram V'Zara Bovad, not B'nai Keturah, because they're not part of Avinu. It's not the same bris. So every single place that the Rambam does this, there's a reason. Now, let me show you. There's one place in the entire Rambam where he says the word Elokei Ha'olam. Every time he says the word Elokei, it's Elokei Yisrael. One place, and one place only, he says Elokei Ha'olam without saying Elokei Yisrael. And there's a reason. Listen to this. In the beginning of Hilchos Yesodei HaTorah, the very beginning of the Rambam, when he describes this Rebbeinu Shalom who created the world, Hamotzi Hazeh, this God, who Elokah Ha'olam, he is the God of the world. Here he doesn't say the God of Israel because he's talking about the creation of the world, and for Goyim, he's also the creation of the world. Every other place, there's 5 other places in the Rambam where he talks about Elokei Yisrael, but it's only for Jews. For instance, a Jew's allowed to take ribbis, interest from a Goy, but he can't take ribbis from a Jew. So he said that if a person takes ribbis from a Jew, the Rambam writes, he's violating, going against Elokei Yisrael, because God said, for Jews, don't take interest from one another. From Goyim, you're allowed to take. So there, he's not going to use the word Elokei Ha'olam. And every single place that he talks about Elokei Yisrael has to do with his relationship to us. So he was careful that if he said Elokei Yisrael, it meant for Jews, not for Goyim. If he said Elokei Ha'olam, it was for Yidden and Goyim. A small little thing like that makes a difference, that the Rambam was careful in how he wrote things. So I found something recently which really was stunning to me. And I haven't found anybody yet that says it, even though it's an open thing. But the Rambam talks about, at the end of the Hilchos Tshuva, Kol ha'osek b'Torah, if a person learns Torah, Kedei lekabel schar, he wants to get reward. Or Kedei shlo tegiya lo peronius, he doesn't want to get punished. Hari za'osek ba shelo lishma. That's called learning Torah, shelo lishma. But let's say a person learns Torah. Lo liyira, not because he's afraid of a punishment. Lo lekabel schar. Ella, for one reason. Mipnei ahavas, he loves Adon kol haaretz, the master of the whole world. If he loves the master of the whole world, shetziva ba, that commanded us to learn the Torah, that's that's called learning Torah Lishma. Why does he say Mibnei Ahavas Adon Kol Haaretz? It's just a flowery lashon that the Rambam picked. He's the master of the whole world. He uses Adon Kol Haaretz only in 2 places in the whole Rambam. That's on my telephone reports. Okay? So, I'm not a baki in the whole Tanakh. So I put in Tanakh the word Adon Kol Haaretz. Okay? And I find in Sefer Yeshua, the pasuk says like this: Per Gimel, Kapitel Gimel, pasuk Yud Aleph. Hinei Aron Habris, the Aron, which has the Torah in it, which is representative of Adon Kol Haaretz, the master of the whole world. Orvul Lefnechem Bayardi. 2 psukim later, another time. Hinei Kenoyach Kapas Raglei HaKohanim Noisei Aron Hashem Adon Kol Haaretz. So here's 2 psukim where the Aron, where the Torah lies, the pasuk identifies Hashem as Adon Kol Haaretz. This isn't in Yoshua. And Chumash Adon Kol Haaretz is never used. But in Yoshua it's used twice. So when the Rambam says, if you learn Torah because God commanded it, it's Ahavas Adon Kol Haaretz. It's the master of the world. Adon Kol Haaretz is used here. Why? Because the pasuk says that the Aron is representative of Adon Kol Haaretz. Why the pasuk says that, we can say pshatim. But once we see the pasuk calls the place of the Aron that holds the Torah Adon Kol Haaretz, so then the Rambam didn't just pick a nice title. He said, El Mipnei Avas Adon Kol Haaretz. Okay? So there's a reason why he picked that. I'll give you another example. The Rambam writes in Hilchos Brachos that there's 3 types of brachos. There's 3 brachos. There's a brachos hana, a brachos hamitzvos, a brachos hashevach. And all of the brachos are there, They liskar as haborei tamid, to remember the borei all the time. And if the Rambam would have said liskar as ha'adon tamid, would that be a bad word to use? But if liskar as halakim tamid, liskar as hayotzer tamid, why did he pick as haborei tamid? You know why? Let's count how many brachas have borei in it. Borei mini v'samim, borei atzi v'samim, yotzer or borei chayshach, right? Shakol, borei priyo eitz, borei priyo adama, right? The list goes on. It's the most commonly, what? Borei mini zaynes, right? Brachos depict the shame of borei, of that losh, not adon, borei. And in the Yad and in the Moreh Nevuchim, he explains what borei means, why it fits too. I got into Moreh Nevuchim through this to check every time the Moreh Nevuchim how the Rebbeinu Shalom, how he uses different names. So brachas are there liskar as haborei tamid, because borei is the way the Chazal told us to think about Hashem with brachas. So he could have said the Yiskar as hayotzer tamid, but he said it's haborei tamid, right? There's a reason for every single place that the Rambam brings. Every single place he brings the Shem Hashem, there's a reason. For instance, in Hilchos Shmita V'Yovel, the Rambam says, if a person decides to sit and be Dovek and Hashem, and he forgets about all physical needs, right? Forgets about all physical needs. And he just thinks about Hashem. V'holach yashar k'mo she'oso Elokim. And he goes straight the way Hashem made him. The Rambam says Hashem will take care of that person. Why did he say v'holach yashar k'mo she'oso Elokim? Because it's a pasuk in Koheles. Elokim asa es ha'adam yashar. So he's paraphrasing a pasuk. And that's why he uses the Lashon Elokim over there. Amen. So every single place that the Rambam brings a name, it's always a reason why he says it. Now, most every place that the Rambam brings Moshe, it's Moshe Rabbeinu, because he's our teacher. In Hilchos Kiddush HaChodesh, the Rambam says, how did Moshe learn about the way the moon works? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu taught Moshe how the moon works. Not Moshe Rabbeinu, Moshe. You know why? Because to the Rebbeinu Shalom, he's not Rabbeinu. But to us he is. So when he talks about him, B'negei us, he'll call him Moshe Rabbeinu. When he talks about Moshe in connection with Hashem, it's Moshe Rabbeinu. No, it's Hashem, yeah, right. Unless it's now in the Hakdama, when the Rambam talks about how the Rebbeinu Shalom gave over the Torah, there he wants us to know the Rambam there is going to write, Nezen Nikras Torah Shabbat Peh, Aval Bishla Nichtav Torah Shabbat Peh, Limda Moshe Rabbeinu Kulu B'Beis Dino Shivnis Kain. There, that Moshe taught the Torah, is called Rabbeinu. So whenever he calls him Rabbeinu, right, then he's teaching Torah. He's talking about his relationship to Hashem, is Moshe. Now, take a look in Hilchos Yesodei HaTorah in Perek Zayin, the Rambam says that Moshe Rabbeinu is different than all other Nevi'im. Most people don't even know this, but you know when the Pasuk says, Vayidabra Hashem el Moshe vel Aaron Lamor, you've seen that Pasuk sometimes, right? You know what it means? Listen, Pashut Pshat. Rambam tells us that Moshe Rabbeinu's Nevuah was on a different level than all other Nevi'im. Before and after. All Nevi'im were in a trance. They spoke to Hashem. Moshe Rabbeinu stood erect and talked to Hashem like you and I talk to each other. The Rambam, in fact, when he writes, the Yud Gimel Ikrim that we have in the back of the Siddur is just a synopsis. But the Rambam writes the Yud Gimel Ikrim in the Persian Jews to Sanhedrin, to the Akdam of Perek Chelik. And in the seventh one, he has the sixth one is that a person has to believe that Nevi'im got Nevuah from Hashem. That's an ikr to believe. If you don't believe that, you're not a mind. Then the seventh one the Rambam has is that Nevuah's Moshe is different than everybody else's Nevuah. That's a separate ikr. Why? Because the whole Torah is based on that Moshe Rabbeinu got it from the Rebbeinu Shalom, and there it was important that he should be up, alert, clear, talking to Hashem, so there could be no mistakes, and that we have the whole Torah Shabbal Peh exactly right? And the Rambam writes this is an ikr that even if you believe all Nevi'im are emes, if you don't believe that Moshe Rabbeinu was up, erect, and clear, and not in a dream, then you're not a believer in Torah. And he writes, this is unbelievable. The Rambam writes in Hagdama, this ikr, to explain you, if I would wanted to explain to you the importance of Nevuas Moshe and how he was different than all other Nevi'im, if I wrote 100 pages, Bekitzer, Rambam's 100 pages in short, it would take me more than 100 pages to explain to you how important this ikr is. And if you look at all the Yud Gimel Ikrim of the Rambam, the one that's the longest in the Persian Mishnah is this ikr called, that Moshe Rabbeinu was what's called Ram Shel Nevi'im. He was a different level than every other Navi, which means, Pashut Pshat in the Pasuk, next time you see the Pasuk, Vayidabra Hashem al Moshe v'Aaron Lamor, you know what was happening? Moshe Rabbeinu was standing there listening to the Rebbeinu Shalom, and Aaron HaKohen was lying down in a trance, shaking like a leaf, and hearing the same thing. Did you ever know that? Pashut Pshat in the Pasuk. That's exactly what happened. The Moshe Rabbeinu stood there, listened, and Aaron was also getting the Nevuah, but like no other Navi could get it standing. Every time person that talked to Rambam talks about this in Perek Zion. Kol advarim shamarnu derech nevuah hem l'chol neviim harishonim v'achreinim. Uma hefer sheish ben nevuas Moshe shar kol neviim shkol neviim b'chaloim u'b'mara u'Moshe Rabbeinu e'er v'oimed. He was standing up. Kol neviim ha'idei malach v'gachroim ha'shein royin v'moshel v'chidim Moshe Rabbeinu lo ha'idei malach. It wasn't a malach. Put him upon him. Kol Nevi'im, every Navi, when they got their Nevuah, Yereim v'nivholim, they were fearful and shaking, u'mismayigin. They were in a trance. Moshe Rabbeinu came. Never. No, once Matan Torah, for sure. When he got it, it's a whole machlokes. Right? Did it happen by the Sned? Did it happen before Matan Torah? That's a whole shaila, another shir. He spoke to the Rebbeinu Shalom like you and I speak to each other. Nobody gets scared from talking to each other. They can't just turn it on. If Hashem doesn't want to come to them, he doesn't. Moshe Rabbeinu ain't came. And that's why he couldn't be with his wife. Right? And here's where the Rambam says that because of this, Rambam says that Moshe Rabbeinu was Rambam Shokol B'nei HaNeviim. He was the Rebbe of all Neviim. So here in Perek Aleph of Yisei Torah, Perek Zayin, he uses the Lashon Moshe Rabbeinu, Rambam Shokol Neviim. Because that shows that his nevuah was greater than any other time. There are 3 other places in the entire Yad where he calls Moshe Rabbeinu Rambam Shokol Neviim. Not just Moshe, not just Rabbeinu, but Rambam Shokol Neviim. And each place that he calls them that, there's a special reason. For instance, in Hilchos Avodah Zarah, the Rambam says when Hashem sent Moshe Rabbeinu to take the Jews out of Mitzrayim, he said he made Moshe Rabbeinu Rambam Shokol Neviim v'Sholachai, and he sent him. Why is he Rambam Shokol Neviim? So Reb Chaim Brisker shows that Moshe Rabbeinu got this level of nevuah for Yetzias Mitzrayim as well, not just for Matan Torah. Because if you look at the last 2 psukim in the Torah, what does it say here about Kairei? Like, come Yisrael, Kamosha Oid Navi Mabit. For what? L'chol ha'oises v'amaisim asher shlacha Hashem Mitzrayim le'enei kol Yisrael. So that means that he was already a special Navi for Yetzias Mitzrayim too, not just for giving the Torah. So there he wants to tell us when he came, takes out of Mitzrayim, he already had this Mila. So he uses that Lashon. So when he uses the Lashon Moshe without Rabbeinu, there's a reason. When he uses the Lashon Moshe Rabbeinu without Rambam Shokol Neviim, there's no reason. When he says Rambam Shokol Neviim, there's a reason. Each and every place, that's how phenomenal the Rambam was and how he was careful. Now, there are many places which I haven't worked out yet, what the reason is. And this is a lifetime work, I'm not kidding. For instance, I'll just tell you some of the problems I'm working on. I just need the time to work on it. But I believe there's answers. He talks about Shmuel, and he calls him 3 different things. There's places he's called Shmuel Stam, there's places he's called Shmuel Hanavi, and there's places he's called Shmuel Haramasi. There's a reason. I don't know the reason yet. I'm open to... I found one Achron that asked this question, why he calls Shmuel by different names. Right? But I haven't figured it out yet, the answer. But do I suspect that there's a reason? The answer is yes. So he has 3 different titles for Shmuel, there's a reason. He never calls Eliyahu Hanavi. I don't know why. But I'll give you an example here. This is, to me, was fascinating. The Rambam writes, Kol Navi Shiyamud Lanu V'yomer Hashem Shalacho. If a person is an established Navi, he doesn't have to prove Hashem. Enid Tzarach Lasos Ois. Ka'oises Moshe Rabbeinu, like the miracles of Moshe Rabbeinu. Oy Ka'oises Eliyahu Ve'elisha. Never calls them Eliyahu Hanavi or Elisha Hanavi. Just calls them that. I don't know why. Moshe is called Rabbeinu. Eliyahu and Elisha are never called Eliyahu Hanavi. There must be a reason. What the reason is, I'm open for something to know. But I believe with every fiber that there's a reason, but I don't know what the reason is. Right? But once I see so many places where it's so medugdik of how the Rambam used his Lashonos, so it's clear to me that there's reasons for all these things. Sometimes he'll say that David HaMelech Ubeis Dino made a takana. And sometimes he'll say David HaMelech without Beis Dino. Each one has a reason. It's just phenomenal to think that the Rambam was such a super duper genius that he was medagdik in his words in this sefer to such an extent, right? He's the Rambam, right? That every single place that he uses a title or doesn't use a title, here's one that's fascinating. Listen to this. I'll show you one that's really fascinating. people can't get over this. In Hilchos Avodah Zarah, the Rambam says, and this is, and I check all the gears also to make sure, because some things in one gear it has it, some things they don't. So you have to find out, which is the right gear. But in every gear this is how he has it. He talks about how did the Masorah of Yiddishkeit come. Yitzchak hodio liYaakov. Yitzchak told Yaakov everything he got from Avram. Umineu lalamed, and he appointed him to teach. Yoshav lalamed u'mazir kol anil v'melav, and he sat down and he taught everybody that was next to him. But when Yitzchak taught Yaakov the Yesodus of the Torah, he's not called Yitzchak Avinu for some reason. The very next line, Yaakov Avinu, Lamad Banav Kulam. When Yaakov taught his son's Torah, he's called Avinu. When Yitzchak taught Yaakov, he's not called Avinu. When Yaakov taught the Shvatim, he's called Avinu. There's got to be a reason, right? But here he's so careful. So what's the reason? I have some possibilities. I'm open to other possibilities. I think that first of all, Yaakov also learned Torah from Shem Ve'aver. So Yitzchak wasn't his sole teacher. That's number one. Number two, the three avos, the one that was Keneged Torah was Yaakov. Yitzchak was Keneged Tefillah. So even though Yitzchak gave over the Yesodus of Emunah Hashem to Yaakov, that's not his job. That's not what makes him an Av. The Akedah makes him an Av. His teaching Yaakov was not. But Yaakov teaching the Shvatim, that's Avos. That's an Av. So there the Rambam is medagdik to say Yaakov Avinu Lamad Banav Kulam. For sure it's got to be a reason. Here he calls Avram 5 times. He says, for instance, in this parak, I forgot to tell you that one. He said that when they started doing Avodah Zarah, the Rambam says, and they started doing Avodah Zarah, right? Ukamat kot haya ha'ikr, and it was almost lost, the main Yesod, Sheshasol Avram, that Avram taught, Nekar, and became Avodah Zarah, Mitzrayim. So when he says that the Iker of Avram was lost, he doesn't want to say the Iker of Avram Avinu was lost, because when it's lost, he's not Avinu. So there he was careful to call him Sheshasol Avram, without Avinu. A line later in the Shvuah that he took us out of Mitzrayim, it's Avram Avinu. So he was medagdik in each and every time when he said Avinu, didn't say Avinu, there's a reason. So it's phenomenal to think that the Rambam is teaching us that Yaakov's teaching his sons is Avos, that's the father, that's because that was his tafkid. Yitzchak teaching Yaakov was not the same. Therefore he doesn't say the word Avinu. And this goes on to so many places of where the Rambam says it. The Rambam I'm getting into more Nevuchim now, only to explain it, because to understand the Rambam's words. The word Adon and Borei, he explains to mean different things in the Moreh, and each place you see how he uses the words there is always medagdek, the way he explains that word usage in the Moreh Nevuchim. So you see the unity of the Rambam's thought from the Moreh Nevuchim back to the Yad. The only sefer that the Rambam wrote in Hebrew was the Yad HaChazaka. All of his other Sefarim were written in Arabic, right? But I checked all the translations of the Rambam in the Moreh Nevuchim to make sure that the word Borei, for instance, or Yotzer, or Adon, they all always fit with the way the Rambam explains the concept of each Shem in the Moreh Nevuchim. So when you imagine the greatness of the Rambam, that not only was he able to put all these things together and have all Torah Shabbat Ped, the Ikar Halachas mentioned, but that every single word is mechuvin. And I will tell you something that somebody discovered that's mind-boggling, and that is, do you know how many prakim there are in the Rambam? Does anybody know? Do you know how many prakim there are in the whole Sefer of the Rambam? Exactly 1,000 prakim. Isn't that phenomenal? Why is that? I don't know. Now, so I had some Talmidei Chacham when I said this over for some people who discovered this, they added it up, right? Either it was that was his plan, or Sata Shmaya, that it worked out that way, however you want to read it, right? But imagine that this work, which is the compilation of all of Torah Sheba'al Peh, is exactly 1,000 prakim. Isn't that phenomenal? To know that even something like that, the unity of the Rambam's thought, of how he put all the halachas together, was so clear that he got everything in exactly 1,000 prakim. To me, that's just a phenomenal thing. It's all part of why, when they say, Mimoshe ad Moshe lekam k'Moshe, Rambam was so unique and so special. And this is a testimony to that. And I can go on and tell you more and more cases where the Rambam does this. But I believe that this is, whenever anybody will be a student of Rambam and you'll read his Lashonis, you'll be more careful to realize, you want to have Amunas Chachamim and know how Chachamim were true to their words? This is the proof. How you see how the Rambam was so careful in every single letter that he wrote was with a reason, with a cheshbon. So the Torah that I'm saying today is not my Torah. This is the Rambam's Torah. But Baruch Hashem, I was able to see a small glimpse of the greatness of the Rambam.
We'd like to thank Rabbi Nueberger to be here with us because the dream became true.